Harlem, October 1945. A little girl, no older than 9, sits alone on cold concrete steps. In her small hands, she clutches a wooden cage. Inside, a black canary chirps softly. She is selling it for just $1. People pass her by. Some glance, then look away. Most ignore her completely. The world moves around her, indifferent, but she waits patiently, watching, hoping, gripping the cage like it holds her last bit of hope. And then, Bumpy Johnson walks into her life, and in that single moment, everything changes. Welcome back to the channel. This is Bumpy Johnson, decoding dark history, where we uncover the hidden stories of power, survival, and humanity in Harlem. Pause, dramatic beat. Stay with me, because this story isn't just about a bird, it's about survival, courage, and what it truly means to have power. It's about seeing the invisible, helping the helpless, and how one choice, one moment of compassion can ripple through decades. Sarah Williams, a partially sighted 9-year-old girl sitting alone on the steps, would never be the same again. And the man who stopped, Bumpy Johnson, would leave a mark not with fear, not with violence, but with humanity. That is where our story begins. The city moves around her, people rushing to catch trains, carry groceries, head home from factories, their lives busy, their minds elsewhere. Yet Sarah sits, small, quiet, invisible to most, holding the wooden cage close. Inside, Blackie, a black canary, singing softly, unaware of the weight of the world pressing down. $1. That's all she asks. Just a single dollar to buy bread for herself and her grandfather. But for everyone else, she is just another face, another shadow on these streets. Her injured eye, a discomfort they'd rather ignore than confront. Her left eye, clouded and scarred, tells a story no one asks about. 4 years of neglect, of poverty, of misfortune. The accident that caused it, untreated, permanent. A daily reminder that survival here comes at a cost. She tilts her head to see better, squints, compensates with her right eye. Every step measured, every breath careful. Her cardboard sign, letters pressed close to the paper because her sight forces her near, reads simply, "Selling bird, You'll," a plea wrapped in innocence, in desperation, a child doing what she must to live. Footage suggestion, close-up of Sarah's eyes, fingers on the sign, slow street movement in background. People walk past, their footsteps echoing on cracked sidewalks, women carrying heavy bags of groceries, factory workers heading home after long shifts, children darting around, playing, all of them focused on survival. Each step, each breath a battle of its own. Some notice her, the little girl with the black canary. Some pause, curiosity flickering. "Why are you selling your bird?" someone asks. Her answer comes quietly, plainly. "Need food." Simple, brutal, true. She doesn't flinch, doesn't plead, just states fact. Father died in France, fighting a war that promised freedom but brought only loss. Mother, gone. Sometimes she returns, sometimes she doesn't. Grandpa, blind, old, frail. And Sarah? She's been his guardian, protector, caretaker, a child forced to grow up too fast. Close-up footage, small hands gripping the cardboard sign, the black canary peering through cage bars, sunlight catching dust in the air. This isn't fiction. This was Harlem, October 1945. Children like Sarah lived these impossible choices every day, choosing who eats first, who survives, deciding between their own hunger and their family's needs. Yet she waits, quietly, patiently, holding that cage like it is her last lifeline. The bird sings softly, unaware of the weight it carries, of the story it represents. Every chirp a heartbeat of hope, a fragile connection to a world that's largely ignored her. At 4:15 p.m., Bumpy Johnson, Harlem legend, turns the corner. A man of power, intelligence, and influence, walking home from meetings about territory, money, survival. Every step calculated, every thought busy with the weight of controlling a neighborhood. And then he sees her, Sarah, alone on the cold concrete steps, partially sighted, a small black canary in a wooden cage, selling her only friend for $1. Something inside him shifts. A pang he hasn't felt in years, a mixture of anger at the world, compassion, and recognition of courage. He stops, studies her, notices how small, how fragile, yet how unbroken she is. Footage, slow motion of Bumpy approaching, camera focusing on Sarah clutching the cage, her damaged eye catching the light. "Hello," Bumpy says gently. "I see you're selling a bird." His voice is calm, steady, filled with curiosity and care. Sarah looks up, her right eye alert, left eye fixed. "Yes, sir. $1. His name is Blackie," she replies, calm, matter of fact, like a shopkeeper listing inventory. But Bumpy sees through it, exhaustion hiding behind composure, desperation wrapped in quiet dignity. He listens, watches, and makes a choice, one most people would never even consider. B-roll, close-up on Bumpy pulling out his wallet, counting a $20 bill. Camera lingers on Sarah's shocked face. He pulls out 20, not one, $20, a fortune in her world, enough to feed them for weeks. And he doesn't stop there. He doesn't just buy the bird. He promises more. Help for Sarah and her blind grandfather, food, shelter, medical care, safety, a chance at life. Not charity, not sympathy, but justice. A recognition that what she and her grandfather face is wrong, that someone with power has a responsibility to act. And in that moment, the story changes. Forever, Sarah begins to speak, her small voice steady, though the weight behind it is enormous. Father died in France, a soldier who fought bravely, left a family with nothing but a flag and a letter. Mother, lost to sadness and addiction, sometimes gone for days, weeks. Grandpa, blind and old, relying entirely on her. And Sarah, she's 9, partially sighted, navigating a world that has already turned its back on her, making impossible decisions. Each day a test of survival, bread or nothing, herself or her grandfather. She chooses him every time, and Bumpy listens, quietly angered, not at her, but at the system, at a country that lets children suffer because it's easier to look away. Footage suggestion. Close-up of Sarah's hands gripping the cage, camera pans to her tear-streaked face, fade to dim apartment interior. "When's the last time you ate?" Bumpy asks gently, almost a whisper. "Day before yesterday," she says. "Shared it with Grandpa." 2 days, without food. And yet she thinks first of another, prioritizes someone else over herself. That is courage beyond her years. That is survival born of necessity. She has learned to measure risk, to weigh hunger against loyalty, to navigate danger and poverty with a composure that should not belong to someone so young. And Bumpy knows. This isn't a story that needs pity. It needs action, justice, the kind only someone with influence can provide. Close up, Bumpy's eyes scanning her damaged left eye. His jaw tightens in silent resolve. Music soft, tense, building emotion. He pulls out his wallet. A $20 bill, enough to feed them, not for a day, but weeks. And then he makes a promise. Not a handout, not charity, but a pledge to protect, to restore dignity, food, shelter, medical care, a chance at life that should have been theirs all along. In that moment, Bumpy Johnson isn't just a gangster. He is a man using power the way it was meant to be used, to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And for Sarah, 9 years old, partially sighted, holding her only friend for $1, the world just shifted. Forever. Bumpy steps into the streets with Sarah by his side, her small hand clutching his, navigating uneven sidewalks, potholes, cracks. One eye sees clearly, the other clouded, untrustworthy. He carries the bags, heavy, overflowing with life-saving groceries. Bread, rice, beans, fresh vegetables, chickens, milk, 2 weeks' worth, enough to fill empty stomachs and restore some dignity. Up 4 flights of narrow stairs, Sarah careful, cautious, holding the railing, trusting Bumpy to guide her. The apartment door swings open, dim, cramped, the smell of dust, cooking, survival. But as he unpacks, The room changes. Flour, sugar, vegetables, meat, milk, stacked on the table. Enough to last weeks. Joseph, blind and frail, reaches out. Tentative fingers brushing the food. Relief flooding him. Tears barely held back. Footage suggestion. B-roll of groceries being unpacked. Close-up of hands on vegetables, bread, milk, light streaming through apartment window. But Bumpy doesn't stop at food. He sees the bigger picture. Sarah's damaged left eye, untreated for 4 years. Her childhood stolen by neglect she didn't deserve. He arranges an appointment with a specialist, surgery to straighten the eye, reduce scarring, restore partial vision. Not because she caused the injury, not because it's a favor, but because every child deserves a chance to see clearly. And Joseph, cataracts clouding his eyes, surgery arranged, care provided, back, rent paid, security restored. In Harlem, 1945, this is revolutionary. A gangster using influence not for power, not for fear, but for justice, for humanity, for survival. Close up, Sarah touching her eye unconsciously. Joseph sitting, overwhelmed. Camera lingers on Bumpy, calm, resolute, orchestrating hope. October 1945. Manhattan Eye, Ear and Throat Hospital. Sarah, 9 years old, trembling with fear and hope, lies on the operating table. Bandages over both eyes. Bumpy Johnson beside her, hand gripping hers, whispering calm reassurance. The first surgery begins, correcting the muscle, straightening her left eye, reducing the scarring that made her face a target for stares and whispers. Hours pass, tense silence. Then recovery. The bandages come off a week later. Sarah gazes into a mirror, and for the first time in 4 years, sees herself differently. Her left eye points forward, moves naturally with her right. The worst scarring gone. She cries. Tears on her good right eye, joy replacing fear. Footage suggestion, slow motion reenactment of Sarah lifting bandages, looking in mirror, archival hospital equipment, soft, hopeful music. 6 months later, April 1946, the second surgery, more complex, addressing internal scarring, attempting to restore light perception. 4 hours of precision, hope, and trust. Recovery is long, but when she finally tests her vision, she can see light, shapes, movement. Depth perception begins to return. But most importantly, she looks normal. Her peers no longer stare. Teachers see her, not her injury. Confidence blooms. Safety, dignity, restored. And with that, Sarah steps into the world, ready to reclaim the life that had been stolen by neglect and poverty. Close up, Sarah walking down streets, now fully independent. Classroom shots, reading, smiling, confident. School resumes. Sarah catches up on 2 years of lost education, excels, writes essays beyond her age, gains independence, confidence, and purpose. And the man who changed everything, Bumpy Johnson, the Harlem legend who could have walked past like everyone else, who could have ignored the fragile girl on the steps. He chose to act, to intervene, to turn survival into opportunity. Her life is forever altered because someone saw her, recognized her worth, and decided to help. Sarah grows up in Harlem, carrying the lessons of survival and compassion with her. She graduates from Hunter College, a young woman transformed not just by education, but by the opportunities Bumpy Johnson gave her. She becomes a teacher, standing in classrooms where she once feared to be seen. And beyond the classroom, she becomes an advocate for children with disabilities, campaigning tirelessly for medical care for poor families, pushing for the very rights she had been denied as a child. Every speech, every policy effort, every visit to a hospital or school carries the memory of that October afternoon on 135th Street. When a man saw a fragile, partially sighted girl and refused to walk past, she often says, "One act of compassion changed my life, and through me, it changed countless others." Footage suggestion, black and white to color transition shots of 1950s-60s Harlem streets, children playing, classrooms filled with students, Sarah teaching, pointing to books, smiling at students. And Blackie, the black canary that started it all, still sings every morning, perched in his cage in the Williams apartment, a living reminder of survival, hope, and resilience. Of the day someone decided to care. a small bird, a crumpled dollar, a little girl with a damaged eye, and a man with power who understood what responsibility truly meant. That single moment became a ripple, echoing through decades, shaping lives, inspiring action, creating a legacy far greater than any money or territory. Proof that compassion, when paired with action, can transform not just one life, but generations. Close up, Blackie chirping, Sarah smiling as she watches him. Classroom full of children laughing and learning, sunlight streaming through the window. Bumpy Johnson's legacy isn't measured in dollars, territory, or headlines. It's measured in the lives he touched, the children he protected, the families he lifted from despair. And in Sarah Williams, we see the living proof. She lived 82 years, carrying forward the lesson that helping others isn't charity. It's justice. It's humanity. It's what power should be used for. And it all began with one fragile girl, a damaged eye, a pet bird, and a man who chose to stop, to see her, and to act. Footage suggestion, slow pan over Harlem streets, archival photos of Bumpy Johnson, Sarah teaching, children playing, soft, reflective music rising. Sarah's life became a ripple, touching thousands, advocating for children with disabilities, campaigning for proper medical care, inspiring generations. Every speech, every classroom, every life she changed traces back to that moment on 135th Street. That one act of recognition, compassion, and action, proving that even in the darkest moments, humanity can shine. And that's the lesson from this story. Power is nothing without responsibility. Seeing someone, believing in them, choosing to act. That is how history changes. That is how lives are saved. That is how one small moment can echo across decades. So remember, the girl on the steps, Blackie the canary, and Bumpy Johnson's choice. They remind us why history is not just dates and events. It's people and the moments that define them forever.